Okay, let's get started. So we're going to make a small book. I have some examples here to show you. Here's a little book here. It's got folded sheets inside of it. And the cover is just a little bit harder paper. If you don't have cardstock or cardboard or construction paper at home that's a little bit heavier, that's okay. You can just make a book without an extra cover, or you can use a different color for the cover. This book is stitched. You'll see the yellow stitching in here. And then rather than cutting the extra thread, I put some pretty little beads on the end of it when I was done making this book. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get 12 pieces of paper. You can do it with fewer pieces of paper. I wouldn't do it with more than 12 because you're going to end up with it being too bulky and too thick. So I just use regular printer paper. It's not very heavyweight. It's like you can write on it or draw on it. I also noticed that this book here that I got when I was in Poland a few years ago is made the same way. If you see, they're folded sheets of paper. They're not stitched together with thread, but rather they're stapled together, see? But these are large sheets of paper. If you have big sheets of paper, you can use them too, or you can use smaller sheets of paper, which you've got in my book here. So today, I just took regular sheets of paper that were just common printer paper that we have here. And we're going to fold them in half. Just take a sheet. Oh, you know what? You don't need to see me. You need to see me doing this on my table. So I'm going to bring my screen down a little bit so that you can watch what I'm doing. How's that? I'm going to fold the sheet really carefully. Make sure it's not crooked. I'm going to hold it with my fingers and press my thumbs along the crease. And then I'm going to take a bone folder and I'm going to go from the middle to the top, from the middle to the bottom on the crease. If you don't have a bone folder, don't worry. You can use a knife, just as long as you don't use a sharp one. From the middle to the top, from the middle to the bottom. You can use a spoon. Might be kind of nice. You can put your thumb inside of it. The same thing. You can use a card. Got this one. Any of those things will work. So you take your 12 sheets. I've done most of mine already. I'll do one more for you. Line it up nice and carefully. The more carefully you work, the slower you work, the better your results will be. Don't try to rush through this. Here, I'll use the spoon for this one. When you're done, you're going to put all the pieces of paper inside of each other. I already did a lot of them, so you wouldn't have to watch me do 12 of them. And then you kind of stack it like this. And then if you did make a cover with a heavier sheet of paper, you tuck them all inside your cover. Make sure they're stacked in really, really well. And when you're done with that, you guessed it, you crease it again. The idea is to make sure that it's nice and crisp along the crease, that it's not lumpy, that it's not opening up. And then what I do, because I made so many books, is I just kind of hold it, because I'm going to poke a hole in the very center and then a hole about maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 centimeters from the top, 2 or 3 centimeters from the bottom. If you think that your paper is going to wiggle or jiggle, you can take a clip and put it on one side and another clip on the other. I've got these kind of clips. I've got these kind of clips, and they can hold your paper too. And I'm just going to wing it. I have this tool, which is very, very sharp on the edge. If you don't have a tool like that, I'm sure your mom or your babcha have a needle. So here, I'll use the needle. I'm going to go right, I'm going to kind of eyeball it. If you think you're not good at figuring out where the middle is, you can always use a ruler and measure. I'm just going to figure it out. My book's homemade, right? It's got to look homemade. See, I'm pushing through. I'm going to bring this kind of close so that you can see it. I don't know. The light isn't so good. You really can't see it super well. Let me try it with the needle. See the needle sticking through? There you go. And if you're doing it with a needle, you might as well just pull the whole needle through, so that makes the hole big enough. You may have to wiggle it a little bit. There you go. So when you do that one, like I said, you go maybe about 3, depending on the size of your paper, maybe 4 centimeters from the top. And you do the same thing. My tool just broke. So I'm going to use my needle here. I'm going to push and push and push with my needle till it goes all the way through. And then I'm going to hold the paper really snug, pull the needle through. Keep holding that paper so it doesn't slip. And then on the other side, about the same distance from the edge, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, whatever you've decided. If you're having a little trouble doing this, you might ask one of your older brothers or sisters if you got some, or maybe your mom or your dad. There you go. So I've got it. 3 holes. Set that there in the middle. And now I'm going to take my thread. I'm going to make it about 5 times the height of my book. Okay, this is as high as my book is. So I'm going to unravel my thread here, a bunch of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, unravel a little bit more, 5 times the size of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't need a ruler to measure that. So I've got a length of thread here. Just going to take my little scissors here and cut it. There we go. And now I'm going to take wax and I'm going to rub the wax on the thread. I'm just going to pull my thread across the wax. You can start at the middle and go to one end. Rub it through maybe 3 or 4 times. And where are you going to get the wax from? You know, you probably have a candle around your house. So just use a candle. That's what this is. It's from an old candle. See? Won't come out, but there's a candle in there. Probably have a candle in your house. So you pull it from the middle to one side, maybe 3 or 4 times, like I said, and then from the middle to the other side, 3 or 4 times again. Then I thread my needle. Maybe I pull about about that much. And then I just take my thumb and kind of press here. And what that does is it kind of locks the thread on, because remember we waxed it and the wax holds. You have two choices now. You can start in the middle on the outside to stitch, or you can start in the middle on the inside. If you start on the inside, you'll finish on the inside and tie it on the inside. If you start on the outside, you guessed it, you'll finish on the outside and you'll tie it on the outside, whichever way you want to do it. I'm starting on the outside. Did you see what I just did? I kind of found where the hole was because the paper moved a little bit. So I'm going to press in the center from the outside. I'm going to wiggle my needle a little bit. I might have to press it down a little bit. There. Pull it through. Now it's pulling one of my clips with it. It's a good idea to clear off your workspace if you can. Have it as clean as possible. All right, so I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to pull until I leave. And you see I've got a little bit down there at the bottom. I'm not going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to leave some. Then I'm going to go either to the top or the bottom, whichever way you want to do it, from the inside to the outside. Again, you might have to wiggle the paper a little bit, jiggle the needle. Now, when you're pulling, make sure that the thread is tight, but you don't pull it all the way from here. So you might want to have one hand here holding it a little bit and this hand holding it. And then you go a little bit more here. You go back through the center from the outside to the inside. Uh-oh, you might hear somebody yelling in the background. It's my neighbor. I've got my windows open because it's summertime and it's hot out. Now I'm back on the inside in the middle. I'm going to go to the other side. Push through the hole there. That one went through real easily. Pull it snug so that you don't want the thread to be like this. That's not good. You want the thread to be pulled nice and snug. And because we waxed our thread, the thread cooperates with us. It stays where we put it. The wax helps it to stay put. So now here I am. Here's my needle end. Here's my end that I started with. And all I have to do is take my needle, pull this close so you can see it, pull around here, and kind of snug it up tight here. Did you see what I did? It's kind of made a little tie right there. Then I'm going to take my needle around one more time and pull it tight again. Up, it stayed nice and snug on the inside. Now what I like to do is I like to leave some on the end, and I like to either make knots or put beads on it. I'll show you how to make knots to make it look kind of pretty. A lot of kids that I work with though, they seem to like to tie it and then snip it. You can do that too. Once it's tied, you've got it tied in a knot, you can snip it really tight here with your little scissors. Or you can do what I like to do. Cut the threads both the same length. I like to make sure some of the thread stays in the needle because It's not fun to drop a needle or to accidentally stick your finger in a needle. And when thread is stuck in it, then it's less likely to lose your needle. I always put my needle back with I have a little stash over here, and it's a magnet, so my needle sticks to it. Always make sure when you're working with your tools that you respect the tools. It's kind of easy to accidentally stick your finger with a scissor or with a needle. So you're going to want to be really careful to make sure that that doesn't happen. So now, if I have little beads, I might stick little beads on the edges. If I don't have little beads, I just might make a knot like this. Kind of make it at the end like that. Just a little knot. And then another one. Kind of close together, sort of. And then maybe a third one. That's what I usually do. All about the same distance apart from each other. I just think it's sort of pretty. Okay, and then I do it on the other side too. I don't have to show you how to do that, but you can do that yourself. Or like I said, you could put beads on it or weave it somehow. It's your choice. So here's the book. There we go. And now it's your turn to illustrate it and put photographs in it possibly of Polish historical sites, or do some research on historical sites in the US. Or maybe you want to make something else inside your book. Go for it. You're not at camp, you're home, you can do what you want. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck.